Ja, von Beginn des russischen Angriffs auf die Ukraine hieß es ja immer wieder, dass wir uns nicht im Konflikt mit der russischen Bevölkerung befänden. Es sei Putins Krieg und nicht der Krieg der Russen gegen die Ukrainer, was wahrscheinlich eine eher unterkomplexe Darstellung der Verhältnisse ist. Es sind russische Soldaten, die Menschenrechtsverletzungen begehen. Es sind Russen, die Putin in Stadien zujubeln. Und es ist bei allem Misstrauen, das man gegenüber Umfrageergebnissen in totalitären Systemen haben muss, es ist offenbar ein sehr großer Teil der russischen Bevölkerung, der Putins imperialen Wahnsinn mit Leib und Seele unterstützt. Umso wichtiger sind jene Vertreter der russischen Zivilgesellschaft, die dieser Meinungsdiktatur trotzen, die dem staatlich verordneten Nationalismus kritisch gegenüberstehen und die Zukunft Russlands nicht im Phantasma seiner imperialen Vergangenheit, sondern vielleicht doch eher in der Vision eines freien und kooperativen Europas sehen. Eine gewichtige Stimme unter diesen Putin-kritischen Stimmen ist die von Viktor Jerofejew, einer der bedeutendsten russischen Gegenwartsautoren, der gerade an einem neuen Roman unter dem Titel Der große Gopnik arbeitet. Ein Gopnik, das heißt so viel wie kleiner Rabauke oder Rowdy, und dreimal dürfen Sie raten, auf welchen russischen Politiker das anspielt. Tatsächlich hat Viktor Jerofejew früh und immer wieder die autoritäre und zunehmend totalitäre Politik des russischen Präsidenten kritisiert. Und weil solche Kritik unterdessen nicht mehr gefahrlos in Russland geäußert werden kann, hat Viktor Jerofejew sein Heimatland unlängst verlassen müssen. Er ist mit seiner Familie nach Deutschland geflohen und lebt derzeit in Schloss Wiepersdorf in Brandenburg. Heute ist er hier, um uns das schwierige, aber doch vielleicht nicht ganz hoffnungslose Verhältnis von Russland zu Europa zu erläutern. Ein Verhältnis, das der Gopnik Putin gerade nachhaltig zu zerstören versucht. Viktor Jerofejew wird seinen Vortrag oder seine Ausführungen auf Englisch halten. Er hat darum gebeten, nicht an dem Stehpult reden zu müssen, weil in Russland heißt, am Stehpult reden, offizielle Erklärungen abzugeben. Und darum macht er es lieber im Sitzen. Wie gesagt, er wird seinen Vortrag auf Englisch halten und ich werde dann ein deutsch-englisches Gespräch mit ihm führen und vielleicht auch Sie in den Austausch mit ihm bringen. Viktor Jerofejew, it's very great to have you here. It's your turn now.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, the only word I understood from your talk is Gopnik, and Gopnik is a very special word which I would like to introduce as a key to our president. You know, Gopnik is very difficult to translate in any language because this is really a very Russian guy from the backyard from Leningrad, beautiful city, and this little unhappy child, then adolescent, who is really unhappy because he is often beaten, he is hungry every second day, and so on and so on. And so he decided, firstly, to be sportive, a sportsman, and then to learn something very important in his life, that victory is the best word of the world. And from there coming his ideology, and then he made the second step. He decided to be a member of KGB organization, and there also he heard all the time victory, victory, victory. And from those times up to now, he repeats the same thing. So Gopnik is someone who believes that it's better to win than to have a kind of morals. Today you could be moralistical, the other day it's not necessary to have it. You treat your life like a special operation. And this special operation is his life. We will be talking a little bit about Putin and Europe, and you know that Putin believes that Europe is mad because it lost a sense of life and it lives by inertia. Europe does not produce a lot of new values. Well, Europe believes that Putin is mad because he made terrible things and now he is totally mad because of Ukraine. So you see, we have two different meanings of what does mean madness. And this rupture between Putin and Europe shows us that our nature and our human nature is totally in disorder. We are speaking about Welt disorder, but we are in disorder, and all problems, all tragedies start because we don't know who we are. I mean, Putin, Europe, everybody, me also. You know, we lost the feeling that philosophy is important for us. We believe that Brussels is ruled by good people. Yes, they are good bureaucrats, but they are not philosophers. And that's why, from Russian point of view, from Kremlin, they see that Europe starts to be weak. And that's why I say, if we want to do anything, we wish they would not say something important for us. Their no will be not strong enough. From the other side, Europe believes that Russia is the same civilization as we are, because we white, we are very close, and Russia is Pushkin, Lermontov, Dostoevsky, Chekhov, Gogol, Gorky, Mandelstam, a lot of it. And this guy as well, by the way. And fantastic guy, Russian Jewish country. I don't understand. I heard these voices in German. I understood a little bit because it was about Russia and Ukraine. But I'm still looking at this guy, and I'm thinking that, you know, that Europeans took from the Russian culture more than the Russians took from it, you know. So the values of Russian culture, starting from Turgenev, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, and Chekhov, enter in your hearts, and they are there, and that's why you could judge what's going on in Ukraine. You know, such a strange movement of ideas. And from our side, this collective Gopnik, I'm speaking about these younger people who went to war to fight with Ukrainians. They have no idea about Pushkin, Dostoevsky. Of course, they could hear these names in school or on the streets, but their values are not there. Still, you know, I think that the most important thing is just give some examples what's going on in this field of ideas. Last September, I was in Berlin for the literary festival, international literary festival, and there was a panel about values. And so it was led by one Swiss writer, and we had several writers, English one, Turkish one, me, and two German writers. And this Swiss writer, the president of this podium, I was left to him. He looked at me and said, "Viktor Vladimirovich, do you share our European values?" And I look at him and say, "And you?" He is very, he said, "Me?" I said, "Yes, you." He said, "Yes, of course." So I said, would you die for your values here? And he was totally confused, and he said, no. And I say, so your values are not very important for you? No, he was thinking, say, I would probably die for my family, for my daughters, but not for Europe. And then there was a pause, and the English lady, British, she said, you know, Victor, we live in a post-heroical civilization. And this is an important statement, by the way, post-heroical. And then I said, you know, and in my country, people die for European values. My dear friend, Boris Nemtsov, died for these values which are shared in Europe. And now we have the same thing in Ukraine. People there dying for values, European values. And I must tell you that this is something which we need to understand, that if someone doesn't want to die for values, which is probably not necessary at all, but still to understand to which point he could go defending these values. And this is one of these weak points of Europe and position, for instance, of German government or connected with this. You know, Europe is blind, and this blind Europe goes to war, and it doesn't understand what could happen with it, with a war, with this attitude, and so on and so on. This is also President Zelensky almost every day saying about that, and he was very unhappy about that. If we talk, and this is also very, I think it's very important to say that, if we talk about what doesn't mean Russia, I would say that at least there are 3 Russias, probably more, but still 3 which are very important. First one is Russia, which all of us know. This is Russia of Russian intelligentsia, Russian culture, and when we say Russia, we see Tchaikovsky, we see Shostakovich, Mandelstam, and all the best people. And we believe that there is some group of people, strange group of people in Kremlin, which took power, and they decided to be invader in their own country. They decided to kill the culture and to oppress simple people. And this is liberal discourse. The other thing is that we have Kremlin, and what is done doesn't mean Kremlin. Kremlin is the logical result of our history, which doesn't exist. Russia is the only country which doesn't have history. We don't have history, we have a fairy tale instead of history. You know, fairy tale it could be very cruel, could be very tough, could be very oppressing at the same time. It rounds, history goes, and fairy tales go around and goes around, and fairy tales is the story when we have the same roles but different actors. So if we took, for instance, Ivan the Terrible and Nicholas I, Alexander III, Lenin, Stalin, Brezhnev, Putin, it will be role of Tsar, but played differently, but still as a Tsar role. The same in this fairy tale, very important role is played by Ivan the Fool. This is a rejection of all rational ideas about their life. And you know, just several days ago in Lüneburg University, I had a lecture I called it Russian happiness. And I compare European happiness with Russian happiness, and I said that Russian happiness would have brought us to the war, because Russian happiness is just to ruin all norms. When your European happiness, as far as I could understand, it is the highest level of the norm. It's a harmony of different successes. We ruin the idea of norm, and we ruin the idea of nice life. For us, nice life, or it's called in Russian мещанское счастье, petit bourgeois happiness, is the enemy number one. We want to kill and to beat. And you know, it is not my idea. It is Alexander Blok, very good Russian poet. After the revolution, he wrote a poetry, Skify, the Skifs, and he said, we are not from Europe, we are Skifs. And this is not so terrible, because there are so many different cultures. And when we see China, which used to fight against the birds on the fields, or against as you know, it was a cultural revolution, and they fought against everything which was not communist, and they killed thousands of prostitutes. We say, okay, but they're different. India, they're different. Iran, they're different. But Russia, it's ours, but with this crazy Kremlin idiots. But these Kremlin idiots are not so idiots. They really continue to have this line of Russian fairy tale, which started by the end of Middle Age invaders from Tatar and Mongolia. And you know, I must tell you that we were a colonial country at that time, Moscovia. And this reflection to be oppressed, to be victim, is still in our blood. And that's why we want to have a revenge. We have to take more land, to have more powerful state, and to at the same time to say we are the best in the world. This is already, as you understand, touched to be fascist, but it is like this. So Kremlin, intelligentsia, in simple people, and this is really a problem, because it's difficult to analyze it, because this dear Russian people has no political culture. Nobody wanted Russian people to have this. And that's why they are so naive in their reflections about what's going on that sometimes it's shocking, you know. There's no motivation now for these simple soldiers why they're in Ukraine. There's no motivation. They don't know anything Ukraine, Europe, whatever, and so on and so on and so on. So that's why when we say, you know, here in Germany, people ask me very often, what do Russians think about the war? I say, I don't know what I think, because they don't think in this way which you used to think, you know? This is completely different way of understanding the life. And that's why it's complicated, you know? That's why the war started to be a double apocalypse, because Russian civilization, of course it's civilization, believe now that we are light and you are darkness, so we can do whatever we want against you. On the contrary, Ukrainians who are now part of European civilization, they enter it slowly but nicely last years. They believe that they are light and Russia is darkness. And this is very dangerous because there is no, it's very difficult to find a peace treaty between two lines, parallel lines, and by the end of it, it could be be a real big disaster. And of course, in Kiev, in Warsaw, they discuss a lot about possibility of nuclear war, nuclear attack on Kiev, on Lvov, nuclear attack on Baltic Sea, and so on and so on. This is really dangerous, and I must tell you that it is difficult to stop it. Of course, we still have a chance to stop it, but it's necessary to be really very careful, very smart, and very, I would say, and it's necessary to understand others, to understand what's going on. It's necessary to stop to be blind here. And I think that the Russia future after the war, after all this madness from our side, because I belong, of course, I have two souls, Russian and European, but still now I would prefer that my European soul will be on the upper level than Russian one. And I think that still we have a possibility to come closer to you, and as far as I understood, the person who was on the screen is saying that we have to divide Russian culture and Russian madness, and of course we have to do it very carefully, because now they started to stop in many countries concerts of people who have nothing to do with Putin and so on and so on. And I think we should also find a mechanism to help these people and to stop others. And it could be a task of possible task. It's possible to say he play music, he is a good photographer, whatever, and so. A lot of Russians left the country. A lot of I wrote my diary for Frankfurt Allgemeine. You read it soon, and I took my family with my two daughters and my wife, and we travel from Moscow to St. Petersburg, Helsinki, Tallinn, Riga, Vilnius, Warsaw. In Warsaw, with my car Russian registration, it was impossible to go. You know, and I understand that they are right to hate, but still, I think that it's necessary to find probably a different way to hate. I don't know how to hate carefully and in a smart way, but it was, we passed the German border and said, oh, finally. And you know, and this is a part of this world today. So when people say, it's better that your great Gopnik will be over there, and which is impossible right now, people will ask, who'll come? Or who'll be the next one? You know, among this administration around Putin, there are some people who are not big supporters of this war. And I think that if he leaves for some reason, the war will stop next day. So you see just one man the whole war. But if not, then we'll have a lot of problems in the near future. If will be coup d'etat from the army, also possible. Also possible. Yes, such a possibility, because army is not very happy about that. But still, I believe that we have to end the war with Putin sitting in his bunker in Ural, as people say, protected by thousands of people, and we have to find the end of the war, and this is our common tragedy. Europe, Russia, Ukraine, and you know, I'm totally mixed with my attitudes, not to war. Of course, you know, I'm here. That's why my attitude is real. But you know, my first wife is Polish. My son lives in Poland. My second wife is Ukrainian, and my daughter has Ukrainian passport and speak Ukrainian. My little daughter is Russian, and she is, so you see, so in one family we have at least 3 words. One Polish connected with Europe, the second one recently entered Europe, and the other one, she is 4 years old. I think she is future of Russia.
Thank you very much. Vielen Dank, Viktor Jerofejew, für diese ja auch Kontrastierung von unterschiedlichen Denkungsarten, Mentalitäten, verschiedenen Formen von Verrücktheiten, von Madness. Ich bin sehr dankbar, dass Sie diese Figur des Gopnik am Anfang aufgenommen haben. Also der Gopnik, der wirklich offenbar dafür geeignet ist, einen Wladimir Putin zu verstehen, der als 14-jähriger Hinterhof-Rowdy in St. Petersburg aufgewachsen ist und dann über das Medium des Sports vor allen Dingen eine Denkungsart entwickelt hat, in der es nur Sieg und Niederlage gibt. Und es geht darum, die Niederlage um jeden Preis der Welt zu vermeiden, sprich Geschichte, Politik wird nur in diesen Kategorien wahrgenommen. Und ich frage mich, er hat ja auch an einer Stelle von einem kollektiven Gopnik gesprochen, ob das tatsächlich so 1:1 auf die russische Zivilgesellschaft, auf die russische Bevölkerung zu übersetzen ist. You talked about the Gopnik, the 14-year-old rowdy Vladimir Putin who tried to survive in the backyards of St. Petersburg and in virtue of sport developed this idea, I have to win, and strength and victoriousness is everything.
Victory is the most important word, and you know, as we were just recently in St. Petersburg, you know, it's fantastic if you know it, it's fantastic, it's beautiful. And could you imagine from this city full of historical, well, is this historical probably not, but all these terrible years of terror, red terror, blockades, Nazi blockades, terror after the war and so on, and this city decided to produce this little Gopnik, take it to the whole world. It's a revenge of this beautiful city to the whole world. Of course, it's metaphor, but when you are there, you say, my goodness, every house there, every palace, it's a miracle. It is fantastic. It's a personage, I would say, there. And then this little guy coming out and decide to be the hero of the world, and he is, unfortunately.
Did you just say that the Gopnik, Putin is Petersburg's revenge to the world?
Yes.
Okay, also Putin als die Rache des eben natürlich in Folge des Bürgerkriegs, aber natürlich vor allen Dingen in Folge der deutschen Besatzung im Zweiten Weltkrieg zerstörten und brutalisierten Stadt. Und ja, sie rächt sich vielleicht.
But you know, because as you know, of course, before the revolution, St. Petersburg was the capital of Russia. So this capital had tragical results of the revolution. Many people immigrated, a lot of people killed, repressions. So it was changed totally. The new population has come, and you know that's why the city had a lot of reason to say, okay, you will have Putin there.
Thank you, St. Petersburg. Ja, aber ich wollte auf einen Punkt zu sprechen kommen, dieses Bewusstsein, dass es nur Siege geben kann, dass Politik sozusagen ein Nullsummenspiel ist, wo es eben nur den Sieger gibt und wenn man nicht Sieger ist, dann ist man eben der Verlierer, ist ja etwas vollkommen anderes als ein demokratisches Staats- und Gesellschaftsverhältnis, wo es eben Aushandlungsprozesse geben muss, wo es Kompromisse geben muss, wo sich Sieger in Verlierer verwandeln können und umgekehrt. Und die Frage ist, und so habe ich ihn verstanden, dass man die Unterschiede zwischen einem europäischen und einem russischen Bewusstsein gar nicht grell genug ziehen kann und scharf genug ziehen kann. If we perceive history and politics in terms of sports, there are either winners or losers and there's nothing in between. This is completely different from a democratic way of structuring your society. Does that mean that Russians are in no way ready for democratically organizing their politics and their society?
Be careful saying Russians.
Okay.
I don't see them. You know,
but you were talking...
you know, a person from Vologda or Arkhangelsk or Khabarovsk or Birobidzhan and young person in Moscow, they're so different. It's just impossible to talk about. You know, we had real democracy, European democracy, several months in the 1917, from February to November, really. And after that, we've got Lenin. And we had really very free country, as I felt it, and I was there during the first 2 years of Gorbachev. No, not first, but 87, 88, a little bit of 89. This is really, you know, it was such a belief. It was like really springtime. It's suddenly after when everything was frozen, suddenly you see these flowers start to appear, and it was an incredible situation. After that, it was killed with first Chechenian war, second Chechenian war, and so on and so on. And then, of course, Putin has come already with different ideas. What does it mean victory? And of course, the West also was to blame about that, because in the beginning, really, Putin didn't know which role he should play. Of course, he would like to play a role of Tsar, but what kind of Tsar? You know, Tsar connected to Europe. As you know, he speaks German. He was in Dresden like a spy, little spy. But this great Gopnik was always a little before he started to be great. And you know, and then American president said that you are so good, I see it in your eyes. Then, you know, in Germany, then Italian guy also was very happy to when Schröder comes, and you know, and we are there. I'm speaking from, let's say, liberal Russian point of view, because I used to be rather often guest to Echo of Moscow with our own only one Russian independent radio, and of course we talk about that, and we say, my goodness, what they are doing in Europe with even Merkel, oh, terrible, you know. So no support, and a lot of things which going on totally in a different direction, opposite direction. For instance, 2008, after the war in Georgia, Sarkozy arrived, you know, saying, oh, everything is okay, okay, don't worry, everything is okay, and so on and so on and so on. Of course, Kosovo, from the other side, played bad roles. I remember me talking to several ambassadors, Western ambassadors in Moscow, and where I said, Kosovo is very bad sign for us and very good sign for Putin. He will continue his games, geopolitical games, and so. And the worst thing is that we believe sometimes in Russia that we should liberate our people and let the people be democratical. So we prepare elections. And for instance, I was the guy who helped Mikhail Prokhorov to be president of Russia several years ago, prepare elections, and then we lose elections, and then everybody say they are false election. But if this election were not so false, still we would lose. So it means that these people, they don't want to be liberated. Then after election we say, these people are so idiot. It's so idiot. They voted for that. Then 3 months passed, we say, still we have to liberate it. From where? From how? And there is no idea of democracy at all. And of course, if you want to say what is the most popular ideology in Russia, if just to combine, you know, different ideas, I would say collective gopnik.
That's the most popular idea in Russia, to combine all of these different trends.
If we take from different, and you know, in December I had an interview in Paris with Figaro, and I said that we Russians, collective gopnik. After that, Russian embassy called and said, "You're enemy of our country." So, you know, so to say that, it's already something that is not allowed to say.
Ich fand es interessant, wie er eben unter anderem beschrieben hat, dass der Westen ja von Anfang an vielleicht falsch auf Putin reagiert hat, ihm entgegengekommen ist, nicht eben diesen Gopnik-Charakter erkannt hat. Die Frage wäre, was lässt sich aus dieser Perspektive eben sagen, wie hätte man sich verhalten sollen? How should the West have reacted to this Gopnik-like Putin when he appeared on the world stage? Or maybe we can break it down to the specific situation. If you were to meet a 14-year-old Gopnik in St. Petersburg and he would threaten you, how would you deal with him?
Yes.
How does one?
It was impossible to on this backyard level. It's impossible to fight with him because he could kill you just for nothing. It's not. You could ask him, why are you going to? What are you doing with me? Just you ask a cigarette, and I say I have no cigarettes, and I will be killed. The same as you know now in Ukraine. It happened near Bucha when a soldier asked for a cigarette, and he said, I didn't smoke for 4 days, said Ukrainian person, and he was killed immediately, you know. So this is, you know, this why Putin is strong, because he come to the mirror and he see this collective Putin, Russian people supported him. Well, of course, we should be carefully analyze, saying, the war, do they want it or not? The other thing, what is really strong in their hearts with the support means they, of course, they love him as a personage of a Russian fairy tale, and they love him as a guy whose main idea is cult of power, and they also want to be. But when I say Gopnik, don't think that it's only men's generation. If you go around Moscow, not far from Moscow, several several hundred kilometers, you will see that also female population also have this idea of gopnik. That's why I want to call, I call this novel Great Gopnik, and it will appear in Berlin in German translation rather soon, because we have a contract with Masses inside Berlin. It is a very good, they published recently, reprinted Good Stalin, my book, in Encyclopedia of Russian Soul. But, you know, I have very, very strong connection with this culture world of Germany. You know, my translator, Beata Rausch, she started to translate me from 1989 with my first book, Moscow Schönheit, Moscow Beauty, or in Russian, it was Russian Beauty. And we are still together working every time for over article or my book or screen. We are talking of scenario and so on and so on. So, you know, from one side, there is such a rupture. From the other side, there is a person who almost more than half of her life here in Germany work almost every day, almost every week with me, translating and having this link with Germany. I think it's impressive. You know, I've been translated in different countries, never but in Germany it happened like this. And you know, I'm impressed by your country. I'm really impressed. That's why I'm here, by the way. And also this, you know, I came immediately, they proposed me to be professor of 2 universities. A lot of proposals. Today I will be speaking in Deutschland Funk, you know, at 7 o'clock p.m. and so on. It is, you know, don't underestimate your country. You are wonderful.
Dankeschön für die Blumen. Trotzdem möchte ich noch eine Frage anschließen, die eigentlich eine Beobachtung aufnimmt, die Jurka Prohaska eben gemacht hat und die mich doch beeindruckt hat. Er sagte, er kriegt Briefe, E-Mails aus aller Welt, nicht aus Russland, nicht von russischen Schriftstellern und Intellektuellen. Und das mag an der... Ja, ich frage mich, woran es liegt. Viktor Jerofejew, Jurka Prohaska just observed that since the war he received many mails, emails declaring pity or empathy or commiseration with their situation from all over the world, but not from Russia. Not one single Russian writer or intellectual ever tried to contact him. Do you know what to contact Jurka Prohaska in Lemberg as a Ukrainian intellectual? All those ties seem to have been severed. Do you know why that is so? Why they are?
This is a very painful question. You know that even Brodsky, he didn't like Ukraine. Andrei Bitov, one of our best writers from this generation of Brodsky and Aksionov, also. There was such a strange feeling towards Ukraine because they said we have great culture and so on and so on, and they just like to eat good food. And you know, this is bad from Russian side. From the other side, as I know, especially in France, they said, all my friends with upper position, they say, okay, why should we like Ukraine if then we lose our positions in Russia? So you see, it's very, 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 very should be fought very carefully. I would say I'm not typical because I was always impressed by Ukraine. I think that the difference with Russia is that they know how to enjoy the life, you know, just to have their property on the earth, to do something good, you know. I remember one day with Vasily Aksionov, our writer from the 60s, we went to Crimea and he said, "Are you hungry?" I said, "Yes, but let us not to eat in Russia, just let's cross the border, then the borscht will be 1,000 times better than here." There's just no border, you know, just you cross from one village to another and immediately everything changes, you know. And this is big difference when now in Kremlin they said there is no difference between Russians and Ukrainians. Yes, there is bad borscht and good borscht.
Okay. Ja. Also ich bin geneigt, mit diesem kulinarischen Tipp zu schließen, aber trotzdem nochmal, Viktor Jerofejew hat schon versucht klarzumachen, ich meine, so problematisch es ist, natürlich die russische Intelligenz hier oder die russischen Schriftsteller über einen Kamm zu scheren, aber es gibt eben auch tatsächlich in der russischen Literaturtradition, in der intellektuellen Tradition durchaus Ressentiments oder Geringschätzungen der Ukraine. Der russische Literaturnobelpreisträger Josef Brodsky hat, glaube ich, auch ein entsprechendes Gedicht geschrieben, das nicht sehr, sehr schmeichelhaft ist. Ja, und Viktor. Aber ja, Viktor Jerofejew ist da anders. Er schätzt die Ukraine sehr, die Mentalität, die Lebensart und den Borscht und gut, aber deshalb ist er vielleicht auch jetzt hier in Deutschland und hat Schwierigkeiten, diese Stimme in Russland zu Gehör zu bringen. Ich danke ihm sehr, dass er hier war und so umfangreich und lebendig Auskunft gegeben hat. Thank you for your presence here and for your talk and all the best.
Thank you.